The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by the Firearms Radio Network. Firearmsradio.tv.
Welcome to episode 95 of Gun Guy Radio. This is the podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challand, and this is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Brownells helps make this episode of Gun Guy Radio possible. Selection, service, satisfaction. Find it all at Brownells. Go to gunguyradio.com/satisfaction. Well, just a few announcements this week. Thank you for joining me again. So, Devin has been promoted to the senior producer on the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review podcast. So we're changing the format around a little bit, and we're moving it to more of a discussion panel type show. I actually guest hosted the latest episode 6 over there on the firearmsinsider.tv/podcast. And had Ryan Cross on, the graphic design guy from FRN, and he's been doing some reviews on the Firearms Insider, and also Firearms Insider contributor Peter, or AKA Agent 95, I believe his name is over there. So you can check out that episode. It was a lot of fun. Talking about some different reviews, and it's kind of the direction we're taking the show. So we're looking for hosts for this new format, and the good news is Devin's taking care of all the technical side of things, audio producing, editing, the website posting, creation, all of that. So we're looking for hosts to that do participate in a discussion panel similar to the latest episode. So we're looking for people that have a kind of a generalist experience, or experience over a few different platforms. Handguns, rifles, shotguns, competition shooting's a plus, reloading's a plus, gunsmithing's a plus. So if you're into a bunch of different things, and you've had some experience, military experience, or law enforcement would be a plus as well. And, you don't have to know everything. That's why we're going to have a few different hosts on this panel, so that we can have a diverse offering of experiences and knowledge base there. So if you're interested in hosting the Gun and Gear Review podcast, just send me an email at jake@firearmsradio.tv, and let me know, and we'll have you on and see how it goes, and do a little trial period and see if we're if it's a good fit for you, and be honored to have you guys give it a try. So jake@firearmsradio.tv. And have a real big announcement here. Duluth Trading Company is giving away $100 gift cards for the next 4 weeks. So the next 4 weeks, we're giving away $100 Duluth Trading gift card. You can use that for anything at duluthtrading.com. Actually follow our special link, gunguyradio.com/Duluth. They actually give me 5 $100 gift cards. So we're doing 4 weeks of giveaways, and that 4th week I'm giving away $200 worth to 2 lucky winners. So to enter, all you have to do is leave an iTunes review. Now, if you already left an iTunes review, you can update your review. You can update your thoughts on the show or your star rating, and it will put it up in the top of the reviews. It will put a new date on it. So either leave us a new review or update your review on iTunes. That will get you in the running. So starting November 24th and until the giveaway's over, till we're out of gift cards, you can get entered by leaving us a review. So the date has to be November 24th or later. And also, some of you are saying, hey, Jake, I don't Apple is evil. I don't believe in giving them my money or using Apple products. So that's fine. That's fine. If you use an Android app or Android device, we have the Firearms Radio Network Android app. So if you have purchased this app, or if you purchase this app, now, just shoot me an email of the receipt, and you'll also be entered in the running. So that's Firearms Radio Network Android app. It's in the Google Play Store. I believe you can get to it by going to firearmsradio.tv/Android. I do believe. So there's the two ways for you to enter. So, $100 in Duluth Trading Company gift cards. You can get yourself some flannel, some flannel-lined ballroom jeans. I mean, really, and they have so much to pick from. It's really hard to, the fire hose work jeans, just lots of cool stuff. Lots of really good winter clothing, especially if you're in the north. It can really make a difference this winter. I wore some flannel-lined ballroom jeans to work this last, I guess it was just Saturday. So it was the coldest day yet this year, and really made a difference. So we're looking for those gun and gear review hosts, and let's see here. Other announcements is, I'm still looking for an assistant producer co-host for Gun Guy Radio to help out on this show. So if you're interested in that, if you experience with audio editing and WordPress is a plus, and of course, you being a gun guy, and if you get out and shoot more than I do, that would be a plus too, which is, pretty much if you go shoot period, that would be more than I do at this point. But you can shoot me an email, jake@firearmsradio.tv. For this week's show, I wanted to do a little bit of a themed show. I don't do these very often. I may start doing them more themed around an event, holiday, etc. I had some positive response from the Veterans Day show. I want to kind of break this up into two parts. The second part will be about guns, of course. This is Gun Guy Radio, after all. It'll be I'm going to talk about the guns. Did the Pilgrims bring guns with them? What were the guns like in those days? And kind of take you through a timeline leading up through the Revolutionary War, talking about the guns of those days. But first I want to talk a little bit about thankfulness, about gratefulness, about perspective. It's all depending on how thankful we feel about whether it's our job or family or situation in life. Whether or not I'm thankful for the 1996 GMC Suburban that I drive. I try to have a little more perspective than I used to. I used to be very, and I still catch myself doing this all the time. I used to be very ungrateful, very looking for the next thing. I'm not happy now because I'm looking forward to this happening, or when I can buy this, when I will have this, when I will, all these excuses for being unhappy or, having a poor attitude, whatnot. I wanted to talk about how we there's a phrase, we stand on the shoulders of giants. We're only to the level we're at now because of those who have walked and struggled and persevered before us. And I'm referring to our ancestors that came over as pilgrims, quote unquote. Our ancestors that came over between that time and this time. Because, unless your parents are Native American, or, unless Native American blood is in your family line, and even then, most all of us have immigrant ancestors. They came in, at some time in that timeline. And, I wonder why mine came over. Why my great, however many greats it was, on both sides of the family, why they chose to come over. I know there's several, for my family, it's several generations deep. For your family, it may be your mom and dad were immigrants, or your grandma or grandpa, but it's a little bit farther back for mine. And actually, some of mine, I even have some great grandfathers, I don't know how many greats, but that were part of the Revolutionary War and then Civil War and so on. Why did they leave their home country in Europe or Scandinavia or whatever part of the world? Mine were Europe, Ireland, Scandinavia, those areas, for a hope of a better life, for hope of a better future. And maybe not even a better life or better future for themselves, because I think they probably knew it was going to be a hard life. But I think they came over here and they worked 14, 16, 18-hour days for years. Worked long days, 6, 7 days a week. For years, for decades. For what? So they can come home and sit on the couch and watch football? So they can wait in lines on Black Friday and complain on how there was not enough Xbox Ones in stock? Complain about how the fast food restaurant messed up their order. They worked and struggled. My ancestors, your ancestors, worked and struggled those long hours for years, decades, because they looked down at the little children at their feet, those same little children who are our great-grandparents or great-great-great-grandparents, who at that time were like my little children, 4, 3, 1 years old. But they looked down at them, and they worked hard for decades, 16-hour days, for a better life for their children, and their children's children, and their children's children, who are us. I quite often ask myself, what am I doing to carry the load to make a better life for my children, my children's children, and their grandchildren, and so on? What am I doing? What am I doing in my time here? What am I doing to make a positive change in my family tree? How am I changing my family tree for the better? Am I changing my family tree for the better? What actions do I need to take today to continue my family in a positive direction, my family line? Because I wouldn't be here where I am today if I wasn't standing on the shoulders of my great grandparents who decided to take action. They decided to flip their world upside down and do something completely different. To leave family and friends and go to a new world in the hopes of building a better future, not for themselves, but for their children and their grandchildren. See, it's all a matter of perspective. The weather, that rainy, sleeting, snowing weather outside doesn't seem so bad when you have some perspective. That clunker you drive doesn't seem so bad. So looking at, personally looking at, trying to look at things with a different perspective, I try to embody a heart of gratefulness, thankfulness. I try to start most every day saying, I expect good things today. I expect good things today. I pray that I take right actions today. You know, I pray that I surround myself with the right people. I take counsel and wisdom. I surround myself with the right mentors. I seek out mentors. I seek out wisdom. Because I don't want to settle for the status quo. I don't want to live the good life, what many people think is the American dream now, I guess, where you work a job, you get good insurance, you buy a decent house, you get decent cars, plural. You have a smartphone, you have air conditioning. I mean, you have all these things that people in other countries, Africa is always the example, but there's many other countries. They could only dream of the things that the poorest among us have. So do I want to strive for a life of comfort? Because that's really what it boils down to. Do you want to strive for a life of comfort? Strive to work a job and work till that retirement so you can relax, quote unquote, so you can sit back and watch football for the next 30 years while your body decays and you pass away? Or do you want to live a life that make a difference? I think at some point we all get to the point where we want to live a life that makes a difference, but then something happens, we get knocked down, lose a job, get a divorce, file bankruptcy, or maybe not even that bad. You just struggle, seem to always struggle for some reason. Maybe it's not one bad thing. And then you live a life of resignation, and that's when you strive for a life of comfort. You know, if I can just have a little bit of everything, like that country song. If I could just have a little bit of everything. I don't need a lot of everything, just a little bit. That's kind of where we're at as Americans. Just give me a little bit, just enough to satisfy myself, just enough to dull those dreams that are still in you, but they're so buried, so deep down that you've forgotten them. Because it is still possible. Maybe not every single one of those dreams, but you still have big dreams. You still have the ability to dream new dreams, to hope for a better future for yourself, even. Because we practically live in the paradise that our great immigrant and grandparents only dreamt of. We live in that paradise. I mean, the things we have, especially with the internet and all the information, and we almost have the curse of information overload. We could go on the internet and find out anything about everything. So where do you start? What do you want to dream about? What do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? Yes, I'm talking to you if you're in your 60s. What do you want to be when you grow up? Colonel Sanders, KFC, he never fried a chicken until he was past his 60s. Or so I've heard. We're famous for making excuses, whether we're too old or too fat or we're too stupid. I mean, we're always talking ourselves down. But I challenge you to start waking every day and saying the words, I expect good things today. Because I believe God wants you to be happy. So expect good things, because that's what he wants for you. He wants nothing but good things for you. Nothing but good things for you. And think about perspective. Think about the struggles that your immigrant grandparents, however many greats are in front of the grandparent part. Think about their struggles, their long work days, work weeks, work years, decades. All the sweat and tears that they put into the ground just to put us in a better position. And look at the position they've put us in, where we have access to resources and information. And really our only excuse is inaction, not taking action. So even though this is Thanksgiving time, why don't you start thinking about your goals, your New Year's resolutions for 2014? What do you want 2014 to look like? Because having a dream for the future, a big dream, it starts a day at a time, a year at a time, 5 years at a time. So what do you want 2014 to look like? Do you still want to be in that same job? Do you still want to be living where you're living? Do you still want to be surrounded by the people you call friends now? Or do you want something different or better? Do you want to feed your mind with the knowledge that will take you farther down the road? To surround yourself with people that are maybe already, a little farther down the road, who have maybe gained some wisdom they can pass on to you. These are things I'm striving for, and I hope you do too. I hope you don't settle for the status quo. I hope you find your calling and you live a life that your immigrant grandparents would be proud of. And remember, I expect good things for you tomorrow. And I'm to the second part of the show, the guns of early America. So, I got to thinking, this is Thanksgiving weekend. You always think the Pilgrims, the Mayflower. Did those early Americans, did they bring guns with them? Did they even have guns back then in this new world? And the answer is yes. Actually, there is a rifle that is in the National Firearms Museum that was on the Mayflower. John Alden's Italian wheel-lock carbine. He was a 20-year-old Cooper at the time. He made barrels and casts, and I think by barrels it's wooden barrels, not like rifle barrels. But he came on the Mayflower, and he brought that Italian wheel-lock carbine with him, which he probably hunted with it. He probably provided defense from Indians or whatnot, and for that Plymouth colony. And it currently resides, that same gun. It just blows me away. That same gun that came over on the Mayflower. It's one of the few relics that even remain from that voyage. It resides in the National Firearms Museum, and it was for years and years, over 100 years, it was in the house that John Alden built, and that house still exists today. I believe it's in Massachusetts, I want to say. But it was hung on the wall in that house for over 100 years, and now it's in the National Firearms Museum, and it's such a cool piece of history. I mean, to have that, that one of the first firearms probably, to be introduced into America. I mean, it just goes to show how long of a lifespan guns can have. We think about an old firearm might be a 1911. That's over 100 years old now, and or some of the lever guns or rifles from the Old West. Winchesters and some of the Colt revolvers, and or you go back to the Civil War, some of the Army Navy cap and ball revolvers. Those are still around, and you can still shoot. A lot of those are still even safe to shoot. And just so guns, it's just really cool how long of a lifespan, or even a useful lifespan, guns can have, and to have something around from the Mayflower time period, it just blows me away. So I want to talk a little bit about the different types of rifles, kind of from that time period of early America, from the Mayflower up right to the Revolution, and so there's basically three main types of rifle actions, or I'm calling it a rifle action. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but I have links to all these terms in the show notes here. And the first one was a matchlock. So a matchlock was all of these are basically muskets, muzzle loading. But the matchlock refers to the mechanism that held a small clamp that held a curved lever that was kind of a serpentine shape. It was like a fuse, or like a cloth piece of or like, it almost looks like a string, but they call it a smoldering match. So it was kind of like a smoldering fuse or string that was clamped in here, and it was on the hammer or the cock. A lot of these call the hammer the cock. I think that's where full cock, half cock the hammer. I think that's where that terminology comes from. Not that I'm talking about cocks this episode, but the hammer or the cock would fall into the flash pan, which there was a flash hole that went into the chamber of the rifle, into the barrel, and so that smoldering patch attached to the hammer cock would fall down into the flash pan, which had powder in it. So there's a little flash pan with powder outside of the barrel, and then a flash hole connecting that to the barrel, to the powder inside the barrel, so that would ignite the flash pan powder, which would in turn ignite the powder inside the barrel. And now these were not very reliable at all. Just this ignition system. If it was all damp, if it was raining, just forget it. It was very, that's where the term, keep your powder dry. That's kind of where that came from, I believe. This was developed, in Europe around the late 1400s, and it kind of, ran until about the 1700s, when it kind of became obsolete. Now, there is some really, ingenuitive, I was looking around online, some different European models. There was even a revolver matchlock, an 8-shot revolver type rifle matchlock that was, I think it was German made in 1580. Some of this, the old technology just blows me out of the way, or blows me away. Yeah. And then after the matchlock came the wheel lock. So the wheel lock was a little bit easier to use. It was a little bit more reliable. You can kind of think of a wheel lock as a kind of like a modern cigarette lighter, where it had a wheel that's spun, and it had a piece of, I believe, pyrite that would hit a piece of steel, which would and then shower a bunch of sparks into this flash pan. So this also still had the flash pan on the outside, where you dump some powder in it, and then have the touch hole or ignition hole. I guess the technical term is a touch hole that connects into the barrel, which has the rest of the powder and the bullet, the ball on top of that powder. You didn't have to have a cord, on this at least, that you had to have lit all the time. So they were a little bit more reliable. Later on, the flintlocks were designed, and the flintlock Well, and the wheel lock, that's the type of rifle that the Mayflower gun was. That was a wheel lock. But then a little bit later, they came along with flintlocks, which was still pretty similar to design to wheel locks, but it uses a piece of flint instead. You still have the flash pan, but there is a cover on it. The flintlocks and wheel locks both have this cover that would you'd put that powder in the flash pan and close this. Well, here I have a better description. So to fire, flintlock, you would half cock the hammer or rotate the cock to a half cock and release a safety lock on the which releases a safety lock on the cock if you rock it all the way to full cock. Well, let me back up. So I guess the main difference between flintlocks and wheel locks, it was the material used. Flintlocks uses flint, the other one uses pyrite, but also I believe the flintlocks had this half cock type safety notch to make it a little bit safer when loading and to prevent accidental discharges. So the operator would load this gun from the muzzle end with black powder, a flask, from a powder flask, followed by the lead shot. Sometimes it might be wrapped in paper or cloth, and you ram that down, and then you prime that flash pan. You put a little bit of finer ground powder in that flash pan, and then you close the frizzen so that the flint strikes the frizzen, and then that's where the shower sparks happens, and then they fall into the flash pan. They ignite that, but the frizzen closes over that flash pan. Then the gun is now primed and loaded after you've done this. So you can typically they would have typically done this and then carried it around for hunting or whatnot, or for going into battle, so that it was good to go. But then it was still prone to moisture and whatnot. But anyways, to fire, you would rotate it from half cock to full cock, which would release that safety lock, and then pick your target. 4 rules of gun safety. And then you pull the trigger when you're on target, and then the flint strikes that frizzen, which kind of flips it up off the priming pan, and then it exposes that priming powder, and then a shower of sparks flies down in there, which are essentially burning pieces of metal, and then that's directed into that flash pan, ignites, it passes through the small hole in the barrel, which is called the touch hole, which leads into the combustion chamber, which ignites the main powder charge, and then, the gun discharges. Now, the other thing with these is that there is a time delay, because you'd have, you pull the trigger, the cock would fall and make the shower of sparks, so you'd have all these sparks going off in your face, and it would take like a second for it to get into, from the flash pan into the chamber and for all that powder to ignite. So you really had to hold this thing on target. You had to follow through on your shots if you're going to hit anything. So it was almost like it hang fired every time you shot the thing. These were used, until the early to mid 1800s, until the percussion cap and ball, as they're referred to, rifles and pistols came into existence, and that's really, the cap and ball, that's the same technology, modern muzzle loaders use. So you may have seen those. To think for military use, for self-defense, just the ordeal that you had to go through just to reload these things. Now, it says, from all accounts that I read, that, you could do 2 to 3 shots per minute if you're skilled with loading this way. And I'm just thinking, man, myself, I'd probably be lucky to get 2 shots off in 5 minutes. But I guess, it just comes down to practice, just like it does nowadays. Practice your manual of arms, and you get that down and you become much more capable of deploying that weapon. And, And these things, they were not accurate. Not, whether you're talking matchlocks, wheel-locks, flintlocks, they were all, for the most part, they were all smooth bore. Now, when you got into the flintlock period, there were rifled flintlocks, but they were much more rare. They were very hard to load because the rifling in the barrel caused it to be a lot harder to jam that projectile, that ball down the barrel. So it took longer to load. Accuracy was, 50 to 100 yards, meters, and really not even that. I mean, really 50 or less is probably what you want your enemy or your hunting. If you're hunting game, you probably want it to be less than 50 yards away from all accounts I'm reading about these guns. And just think about how far we've come since then, and rifling and modern cartridges. It just makes me a little bit thankful for the modern firearms we have nowadays. But to just think that we won the Revolutionary War with these, to us, primitive weapons. Really, to them at the time, flintlocks were pretty state-of-the-art weapons. Generally, that's one reason why the British Army at the time, if we're in the Revolutionary timeline here, that they would, practice marksmanship in mass volleys. They would line up and they would all, shoot at once or shoot in volleys. A row of guys would shoot, and the row of guys, they would kneel, a row behind them would shoot, and so on. And it was because these guns just were not accurate. You had a better chance of just, kind of spraying and praying with the whole military unit, what they defaulted to because of the inaccuracy of these weapons. And so far up to this point, I've just been talking about muskets, basically, which would be the equivalent of a rifle at the time. But there was also a sort of the equivalent of a shotgun at the time, which was a blunderbuss or a handheld, like a handgun form of it would be a dragoon. And these were, you think of probably Thanksgiving and guns, and you probably picture a blunderbuss in your mind because it's that shorter rifle with the flared, end of the muzzle. So a lot of times you'll see them greatly exaggerated in paintings or cartoons, but they were the equivalent basically of a shotgun, where you would put shot or other projectiles down them, anything you could find, rocks, whatever, they put down them, and now these were also could have the different actions, whether it's flintlocks. Most of these were flintlocks, as far as I can tell. Maybe some of them were wheel locks. They were also used in the Revolutionary time, and the muzzle loaders, the muskets, the blunderbusses, and there were different handgun variations of all of these, but handguns were much more rare. They didn't really until about the time of the Revolution and on is when you started seeing more pistols. I guess you could call them. Cavalry, mounted troops would have much more likely to have a pistol version of these. Now, there were some other actions. There was like a dog lock and a snap pants, basically variations of a flintlock or a wheel lock, so I won't get into those details. So let's talk a little bit about the practicality of, or the reality of carrying these around. So you not only had to carry these long muskets around, but you also had to carry a powder flask. You had to carry a bag of balls, your lead shot or your lead projectiles. You had to carry those around. Then you had, usually, from what I'm reading here, is you had to carry a separate little bag of powder for that flash pan, because that you needed finer powder for that, and then a patch to put down with the powder and projectile that you're ramming down the barrel. So you had to carry all that, and not only did you have to carry all that, but you had to kind of juggle all that in your hands when you're loading. And so, that just adds to it. Not only do you have this hard to inaccurate, hard to hit anything musket, but you also have this, all these other things you have to keep track of as you're, trying to reload the thing. Now, the one thing the military developed that did kind of simplify this was that they would kind of preload their charges and shot, and they would do this by taking paper, and they would basically make a paper cartridge where they would pour the powder in and then put the projectile in, and each end would be kind of twisted off like a candy wrapper, twisted off each end, so they could carry, a whole bunch of these that were kind of the powder was pre-measured. You don't have to worry about measuring the powder on the battlefield or whatnot, or even if you're hunting, not have to worry about that. And so you'd take this paper cartridge, and they even had like types of paper cartridges all the way up through the Civil War. So this was something that they also found very useful throughout, over 100 years. So to load the paper cartridge, they would, take it out and bite it open, rip it open with their teeth, and then pour that powder in, and then shove that paper with the projectile down the bore and ram that down with a ramrod. And then they would take their finer powder to put in that flash pan, and then they'd cock it, and then find their target, take aim, and shoot. And so that's made it a little bit quicker. That's probably where they get the 2 to 3 shots per minute calculation, is if you're using a paper cartridge. And I actually linked to there's a guy on YouTube that did a pretty good video on how to make your own paper cartridges for, I think he used a 75 caliber muzzle loader or musket. It was a Brown Bess, I believe. And then Hickok 45 also did a video on a flintlock Brown Bess. And the Brown Bess, that was just a nickname for the British version of these rifles at the time. And during the Revolution, a lot of Americans also had Brown Besses as well. I'll have these in 2 YouTube videos in the show notes. That way you can kind of visualize what I'm talking about here. Makes me even more thankful that these men of the Revolution, or even going back farther than that, the French and Indian Wars, and then before that, just coming to America and dealing with whether it's Native Americans or having run-ins with other countries trying to claim this land. I'm grateful that the people that came to America, they had very little. They had very primitive, to us, firearms, especially if they were using, matchlocks with that fuse, basically, that you had to keep lit. I mean, and they were able to do their big part. I consider a big part. They did, everything they could at the time to survive and to bring us to where, do their part to bring us to where we are today. So, that's just a brief overview of the weapons of, the guns of early America. All the way from that Italian wheel-lock carbine that John Alden brought on the Mayflower up to Civil War, where using the Brown Bess to and rifles similar to it. Like there was a lot of French muskets during the Revolution. Did I say Civil War? I meant Revolution. Basically about the same technology. Unrifled barrels, just really poor accuracy. But the things those men accomplished, men and women, accounts of women fighting in the Revolution as well. So I'm sure they did much with firearms before that as well, whether it was hunting or defending against Indians. Well, that about wraps up what I had to say about guns of early America. Someday I'd like to have some historians on actually and talk about some of these, with guys that or gals that know what they're talking about, as opposed to me looking all this up online. But I hope you found this valuable and entertaining, and to thank our sponsor, Duluth Trading Company, for sponsoring this episode of Gun Guy Radio. And I'd like to talk a little bit about Duluth lined pants. So they have some pretty awesome lined ballroom jeans, but just, not just ballroom jeans, but also their fire hose work pants, their quick dry pants. All of these you can get lined with either fleece or flannel. During this cold time of year, my job, I have to basically wear long underwear every day during the winter, 6 days a week, my regular job. And, Duluth was so kind. They're extending their sponsorship for Gun Guy Radio, and they sent me 3 pairs of lined work jeans, whether they're I think I got 2 ballroom jeans and 1 fire hose work jeans. I've only worn the ballroom jeans so far, but they keep me just as warm as wearing a separate pair of pants and long underwear. But I find them much more convenient. I really hate wearing long johns. Flannel line, they're just so comfortable. It's just amazing, and I don't really notice that I'm wearing them, because I thought they would be a lot heavier and stiffer and stuff like that. But they're super comfortable. And you don't need to buy a size bigger or anything. They're just great, super comfortable, and you still have the ballroom flex and everything. And they have the great pockets and everything else. Really looking forward to trying out the other pairs, but they're not much more than a regular pair of Duluth jeans. So I think there's a lot of built-in value with these. I give them 2 thumbs up for sure. So check them out, gunguyradio.com/Duluth. By bringing you these sponsors, I hope that I can help you, in some way. I mean, if you don't need anything from Duluth ever, I mean, I hope, maybe it could be a gift idea. Christmas is just around the corner, and, for the guy or lady in your family, they have a lot of nice women workwear as well, or casual wear, or pajamas even. So check that out, gunguyradio.com/Duluth. Welcome back to the Gun Guy Radio Product Spotlight, and Paul Levy, the Product Spotlight Specialist, correspondent.
Many things.
I really should have this down by now. Well, hey, Paul, we're talking about Streamlight a little bit this week.
Yeah, talking about Streamlight. They have a bunch of different lights that we've carried for a while. A great light manufacturer, specifically for us, gun-mounted light manufacturer. They, of course, make quite a few handheld lights, LEDs that are nice, handy lights and quality lights at a great price point, which you didn't used to see in the light market. It's, of course, gotten a lot competitive here as of late. But Streamlight's always been top tier, in my book anyways, as far as great quality lights. As far as gun-mounted lights go, the TLR1's been their classic model, rail-mounted light that mounts to handgun rails, and a lot of people are moving to that for their rifle lights now. Today I brought on the TLR1 Game Spotter. It's a little different one. You can see it has the traditional TLR1 body, and then they went with the larger bulb on it. And this is intended for what the name implies is spotting game with a green LED. So it doesn't spook them when you're going out spotlighting whatever game you're hunting at the time, whether it's hogs, raccoons, coyotes, and whatever you can hunt legally in your state, of course. So it won't. Their claim is that it won't disturb the animals, but also, of course, allows you to easily identify them. And also, of course, whenever you're shooting something, you have to identify it, whether that's on a square range or whether you're out hunting. You always want to ID prior to shooting. And the neat thing about this is it's a green LED, which I had not seen before. It's actually the LED. It's not, as you can see, it's not a cover. It's not some cheap just lens covering. That's the LED itself that emits a green light. I'll try not to blow out my webcam, but as you can see, fairly bright, 150 lumens. And it has the same capabilities as the normal TLR one. It mounts relatively easy. It's as simple as that. There it mounts to a Glock, tightens via this screw here. Currently I have the Glock rail spacer installed. You can swap that out so that it'll fit various rails. Here I have one for the 1913. It comes with actually 4 of these. It comes with one for the 1913. Here's a Walther rail, and then also a Beretta 92. They're just slightly different for whatever reason, and they include those with the light. And just a little detail I found when I was taking this out of the packaging is for these screws for the different rails, they actually put thread locker on that, which for a gun-mounted light is definitely handy to have. This isn't going to work loose and then fall off your firearm for whatever reason. Again, a cool thing with the TLR1 and why the TLR1 is just so popular is just how it functions. Again, you can see how easy it is to mount. This isn't the most practical light to put on your Glock or your carry gun, probably, but more intended for rifle use. But it has a momentary on. You just depress that there, or the opposite way is for constant on. So really easy to operate for whatever setting you intend to use. And this particular one uses 2 CR123 batteries, lithium, which pretty much all of Streamlight's lights do, which is pretty much this. If you use an LED, you pretty much have to use those if you want any battery life at all. So that's the TLR1 Game Spotter. Definitely a different light. But we also carry quite a few different Streamlights here at Brownells. We have the TLR1, the 2, the 3, and then also the versions with the built-in laser. This particular version doesn't have that, of course, but they have all those options pretty much. And that's Streamlight. They make good stuff.
Well, I think I'll have to get one for my Glock to go hunt some coyotes. I just need a holster, though. Does someone make a holster?
I am not aware of any holster manufactured just yet. I'm sure you can make make a pretty penny making holsters that fit these.
But no, that's a great idea, though. For coyote hunting, for your AR-15 or whatnot, throw that on, or have that in for your truck gun if you're redneck with a gun rack or something.
Oh yeah, and the green light that's pretty clever. It's in green light, it's of course easy for everyone to pick up. It's the most visible thing in the spectrum for us, so it's a pretty neat concept. It's interesting. Anyways, I hadn't seen a green light LED before.
Yeah,
very cool.
That's the first one I saw, and it's cool also because like you were saying, it has the same manual of arms or whatever that regular Streamlights have, the same switch and everything.
And you can use this for a variety of purposes too. It's not like you're going to be just limited to hunting game. Also, the advantage with this larger lens on here is it focuses the light a bit more. You don't get a wide dispersion. So especially for coyotes, if you're not going to be up on them 5-10 yards, you want to be able to spot them a little ways out. Yeah,
for sure. So, very cool. So if you're watching the video, you can check the upper right-hand corner of the video here for a direct link to the Streamlight. And also, we're giving away the Streamlight and the Stormlight barrel of your choice. So after this video on Gun Guy Radio, I'm going to announce the winner. So very cool. So awesome package. You can get a barrel for your Glock and a game spotter for it.
Yeah, you'll be all set up with that.
We'll be working on the holster options, right?
Yep. I'll let you worry about that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much, Paul. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
All right. See you then.
All right. We're to the Brownells giveaway. So this is the time, we give away what we've been talking about on all the product spotlights. So we're pick two things to give away here. You get to pick a Storm Lake barrel of your choice, and also the Game Spotter light. That's let me see here. It's made by Streamlight. That's right. So the Game Spotter light, it's got, the green LEDs, and then the Storm Lake barrels, you can get them for 1911s, Glocks, M&Ps, XDs, just any, you get to pick any barrel that is on the Brownells website. So I randomly drew a name from our email newsletter list, because that's how you enter. You subscribe to the Gun Guy Radio newsletter by going to gunguyradio.com/winner. There's also a link in the upper right-hand corner of the website. But I drew a name, and it's Lauren Eggert. So, Lauren Eggert, congrats. You won the Storm Lake barrel of your choice and the Game Spotter light. And this starts next week we'll start our next 4 weeks of products, and we're giving 2 of those products away as well on December 22nd. So you still have plenty of time to enter for these, and you only have to enter once. If you sign up for an email newsletter list, just stay subscribed and you're good to go. So go ahead and subscribe to that, gunguyradio.com, to get a chance to win one of these 2 products. And the first one is Midwest Industries AR-15 Generation 2 SS Series handguard. These are pretty sweet. We talked about these on the Gun and Gear Review podcast, episode 6. There's a review on the firearmsinsider.tv website as well, and Reed's been talking about these on the AR-15 podcast. So you can choose anywhere from a 7-inch to 15-inch rail. These are modular. They come with the barrel nut. They come with tools to install it. They come with modular rail pieces, and they even come with a rail piece with a built-in bipod stud. So that's built-in value right there. They range anywhere from 139 to 179. You could be a lucky winner. They come in black or flat dark earth, not fat dark earth. Any one that you want, if you win, you get to pick, and we'll send it to you. Or Brownells will send it right to you, not me. Thank you, Brownells. And also, the same person wins a Brownells AR-15 M16 Critical Tools Kit. So this comes with the giant barrel all-in-one wrench, and also the upper receiver vice set, the vice clamp, and then the lower receiver vice block, and then also let's see here, a couple necessary tools as well, a punch, some detent tools. So this retails for $109. So if you go with a 15-inch rail and the Critical Tools Kit, you're getting about a $300 value right here for free. So go ahead and enter gunguyradio.com/winner, and thank you to Brownells for sponsoring the Gun Guy Radio giveaway.
Ballroom jeans, fire hose work pants, and long-tail tees are 3 favorites among the men of Gun Guy Radio. Duluth Trading Company has perfected the art of clothing the manly man. If you want manly comfort that's trusted by these gun guys, go to gunguyradio.com/Duluth and check out the other manly essentials Duluth Trading Company offers gun guys like us. Gun Guy Radio says thank you and proudly displays artwork and graphics designed by Ryan Cross of Hunter of Design. hunterofdesign.com.
All right. Well, don't forget to use the Brownells affiliate link, gunguyradio.com/satisfaction, or click any of the banner ads on gunguyradio.com to go through to Brownells. And, you can send feedback to Jake at gunguyradio.com. Don't forget to purchase your Gun Guy Radio stickers, gunguyradio.com/stickers. Remember to subscribe, leave us an iTunes review, or buy the Firearms Radio Network Android app, firearmsradio.tv/Android, to get signed up for the Duluth Trading Company $100 gift card giveaway going the next 4 weeks. So get signed up for that. And remember, join the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation. And don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows on the Firearms Radio Network, firearmsradio.tv/iTunes. And check out the We Like Shooting podcast. That's one that I certainly look forward to every week to listen to. A bunch of great guys and girl over there. I won't call them clowns this time, but really fun show. They have some really, really awesome guests on. They had the guy on that printed the first all-metal 1911, the 3D printed all-metal 1911. They had him on, and just a really great show. WeLikeShootingPodcast.com. Well, thanks for listening, and have a great Thanksgiving.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.